Hey, it's Glenn, and this is another video in the series that I'm calling The Books I Love. And this episode, we're going to be talking about Dune by Frank Herbert. I love this book. Like, does that need to be said? I feel like I say that in every The Books I Love video when the series is called The Books I Love. Yes, I love Dune. I haven't read the whole series yet. But I read Dune years ago. A friend of mine read all the Dune books and was in love with them, and I never really got around to it until years after that. And I had this, and again, before I start in, if this is the first time you've watched the Books I Love video, this isn't like a literary critique. Nothing I talk about in this series is coming at it from that angle. This isn't talking about what I liked versus what I didn't like, or we're not talking about the plot, unless that is in fact one of the reasons I absolutely love it, is just the plot itself. It's just simply the books I love and why I personally love them. What my connection to this book is. So they aren't very long videos. It's just me gushing about how I connected to a book. So Dune. Yeah. So I was working at a bookstore, and I was it was in the early days of my writing career, and I had this space opera gestating in my head, right? Like, I'd been writing horror fiction, and I had this space opera, though, that just the characters and the world was really coming to life in my head, so I started talking to people about it. That's actually how Molly, the illustrator for Metronomes, and so many she's done so much cover art for me over the years too. That's how we first started working together, because I wanted her to give me a visual representation of this alien race in my head. I'm like, I need them to look not silly. Like, the idea in my head, I'm just trying to, when I describe these characters in a book, I don't want people to picture something silly. I want to see it and make sure it works. And, her illustrating that alien race led to me realizing I could do, because Metronomes, my Metronomes series, was one that I kind of was like, I can't write that as a novel. It's a cartoon. It's too cartoony. But when I saw her illustrations of these aliens, I'm like, Metronomes could be an illustrated novel and it would be brilliant. Or I think, there's a longer road to Metronomes, but that's not what I'm talking about. But it was this series, and I haven't written this series yet, because we'll get there, because I started talking about this science fiction idea to friends and coworkers at the bookstore, and pretty much universally, people would tell me, well, that sounds like Dune. And I'm like, okay, after enough people told me my idea sounds like Dune, because I really loved this idea and I really wanted to write this story, but I don't want to be perceived as ripping anyone off when I hadn't even read Dune. So I finally broke down and read Dune, and oh my gosh, I saw the parallels immediately, but I'm still going to write that series. It's in my plans. It's been gestating again recently, and I think while there will be some similarities to Dune, it definitely has a completely different spirit, I think, and the only real parallels are kind of archetypal myth sort of things. So I'm aware of it, and so now as I'm writing it, I'll be sure not to be writing Dune. I think Dune has a darker edge. It's got a little bit more pessimism to it, and it's also got sandworms and spice, and things like that at the heart of it. It's not the idea, but I think some of the more metaphysical aspects of my idea is what really seemed a little Dune-like. But mine's different, and I'll talk about that no more because it's different. But, what I do want to talk about in Dune, just why do I love this book? Not because it stole my idea years before I was born, but because of how in depth it goes into like human psychology, and it's kind of an illustration of the idea that psychology is sorcery. Like it's all about the mind and the potential of the human mind. Basically, yes, there's all this political intrigue going on. There's all this drama. There's all this soap opera stuff going on. That's great, and that you get in any space opera. They all hopefully have plots, right? But it's not the plot itself that made me love Dune. It's not the stories or the characters specifically. It's more the philosophy of Dune. Like there's a mantra in Dune that I memorized at one point in my life that helps me push through stuff when things get overwhelming and scary. Let's see if I still remember it. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. That's the kind of stuff in Dune that makes me love it, because that's a psychology trick to do on yourself. Like, what is fear? Let it pass over and through you. Turn back. It's gone. You remain. There's all kinds of stuff like that in there. I mean, there's crazy stuff in there, like really honestly using psychology as sorcery, even down to manipulating a voice to influence people, like the way that you speak, the way that you project your voice, like the Bene Gesserit witches, do all of this stuff. And I don't know, I just kind of, there's a lot that I've carried with me over the years from Dune. And I do intend, especially before I start writing my own space opera down the road, I'm going to finish reading Dune because I don't want to tread where it has already trod. So it's a little bit threatening. It's a little bit of a threatening book to me, but I adore it because, it's threatening because it makes me worry that I won't be able to write that series as freely as I would have back when I first conceived it. But I really don't think that's going to be a problem in the long run. But it's, I think that's also one of the reasons it resonates with me so much, because it is very adjacent. Like, it's very similar to the way I see things, I guess. Like, we have a lot of philosophy in common, Dune. And Frank Herbert, when he wrote it, really, I think, articulated it so well. Like, he put it into words on the page that can be memorized by someone like myself and used in life. Like, there are life lessons in Dune. And yeah, my takeaway was largely psychological. I love the psychology and the philosophy of Dune. So, that said, let me know how you feel about Dune. Have you read it? Do you want to read it? Have you seen any of the movies? Like, what's your connection with Dune? What's your relationship with Dune? Let's have a conversation, because that's always fun. And so, yeah, next month I'll be back with another book that I love. And until then, you can like and subscribe. You can check out my writing. My novels and short fiction that are not ripoffs of Dune at my author website, glensladeclarkjr.com. And I will talk to you next time.